Hi, I'm Malthace. You can call me Thacia, if you want to. That is what my brother, Joel, and my friend, Daniel, call me most of the time. Mrs. Kaplenko told me that you are going to read about all of us in our novel, The Bronze Bow, by Elizabeth George Speare. This novel won the Newbery Medal in 1962. It is historical fiction. I for one am one of the fictional characters, but Jesus is another character in this novel. Jesus really lived, and is not fiction. This novel is written from the third-person limited view. Mrs. Kaplenko taught you about that earlier in the year, right? Daniel's thoughts and actions are the focus of the narrator. I have taken off my headscarf and robes, in order to have this important conversation with you. It is important to listen carefully, so that you will have good comprehension of the Bronze Bow. I'm home here at my mansion in Capernaum. Capernaum is a small city in the Roman Empire. We used to live in Israel, but the Romans have conquered our land, and made it part of their huge empire. The year in 27 AD and some of us are getting really frustrated with the Roman occupation. However, I must speak quietly about this all. Otherwise my father may hear me. My father does not agree with many of the things that I'm going to tell you about. Most of the time he just wishes that I would enjoy the rich life, and keep my nose out of the business of the poor people. I would much rather prefer a simple life than this one. My friend Daniel is very angry, but he has a good reason to feel this way. The Romans crucified his father. That means that they sentenced him to death. Then they nailed him to a cross of wood and let him stay up there until he died. This is not only painful, but it takes more than a day. It is also incredibly humiliating, because it is out in public, where everybody can see. In the 21st century, when one is sentenced to death, it is by lethal injection. Things have changed a lot in the past 2,000 years. Mrs. Kaplenko would hate to hear me use this word, but Daniel hates the Romans. Mrs. Kaplenko believes that we shouldn't hate anyone, but you see my friend Daniel really hates the Romans. It is his life quest to drive the Romans out of Israel, so that we can be free again. At first, Daniel is part of a band of outlaws living in the hills. This band is headed by a man named Rosh, but I'm not quite so sure that Rosh is a very nice man either. Later on Daniel must move back home to take care of his sister, Leah. Leah has her own problems. The crucifixion disturbed Leah so much that she will not even leave her house now. She is basically afraid of everyone. One of my favorite parts of the story is when Leah must leave her house and move into the blacksmith's house. Boy oh boy, did Daniel have to be creative to make Leah go outside. Daniel's anger almost ruins us all, but along the way we find ways to find love and acceptance about our situation. Sometimes we can't be the heroes. Sometimes we have to wait for goodness. Just remember, he trains my hands for war, so that my arms can bend a bow of bronze. That is an important quote from the book. It is also how the novel got its title. Be strong and use love not hate, to conquer your greatest enemies. This is a story about religion, but it is not a religious story. It is a story of our quest of survival in the unfortunate times of being conquered by another nation. Some say long live Rome, but I say give us freedom. Each day, you will use your reading notebook to show your comprehension of this novel. You will do this by using a different comprehension strategy each day. Use the list that Mrs. Kaplenko passed out as well as your reading notebook for possible choices of strategies. This will be your chance to show off all of the reading strategies that you have used and learned this school year. Since you spent the last few months on other mediums and genres of literature such as graphic novels, nonfiction, and poetry, you will need to look in the first two-thirds of your reading notebook for strategies for that can used with historical fiction novels. Tape the assignment page into your reading notebook and highlight the strategies as you use them. Mrs. Kaplenko will be collecting your reading notebook before the school year is over. I know that you all want good grades, so listen very carefully as she reads our story. The Romans and Jesus greatly affected history. It was a tough time to live, but it is one of the most exciting times to read about in history books. Thank you, enjoyed our story. I have to go now. I think that I hear my father coming.